My husband stole my inheritance to fund his affair and invest in another woman's dream. My husband Caleb and I opened Morning Rise Bakery 2 years ago with the inheritance my grandmother left me, turning our grief into something warm and alive that smelled like butter and caramelized sugar at 5 in the morning. We'd spent years drowning in credit card debt and medical bills, and that money felt like her last gift, her way of saying we deserved a fresh start. The supplier showed up Thursday morning while I was pulling the second batch of sourdough from the oven. I heard the truck idle outside, then footsteps, then nothing. I wiped flour off my hands and pushed through the back door to find Dennis standing there with his clipboard tucked under his arm and his hands in his pockets. "Morning," I said. "You need help unloading?" He shook his head. "Can't unload today." I blinked at him. "What do you mean?" "Your account's seriously past due," he said. "I've got instructions not to deliver until it's settled." My stomach dropped. "That's not possible. We pay on time. We always pay on time." He pulled out his phone and showed me the screen. 3 invoices, all overdue by 30 days or more. The total was over $4,000. "There's been a mistake," I said. "My husband handles vendor payments. He would have told me if something was off." Dennis shrugged. "I just drive the truck. You'll need to call the office." He climbed back in and drove away. I stood there in the alley with flour dust still on my apron and watched him turn the corner. Inside, I pulled up our business account on my phone. The balance looked fine at first glance, but when I started scrolling through transactions, my hands went cold. Payments to Dennis's company that should have gone out in March and April were missing entirely. So were payments to 2 other suppliers. I opened the laptop we kept in the back office and logged into the full account history. That's when I saw the transfers. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, Caleb had been moving money into an account I didn't recognize. The amounts varied, anywhere from $300 to $800, but they added up fast. I clicked on the account name and found his name listed as the sole owner. It wasn't a business account, it was personal. I opened his email next. He'd left himself logged in on the shared laptop, something he did all the time because he said he had nothing to hide. I searched hotel, and the results loaded in a wall of confirmation numbers. Weekend stays in the next county over, dinner reservations I'd never heard of, a jewelry purchase from a boutique I'd never been to. Then I found the text thread. Her name was Sienna. The messages went back 6 months. He'd told her he owned the bakery outright, that he was single, that he was looking for a partner to help him expand. She sent him photos of food she'd made at home and asked his advice. He sent her photos of pastries I'd baked and pretended he'd made them himself. In one message, he told her he was scouting locations for a second shop and wanted her input. In another, he said he'd been setting aside money for her food truck idea and they'd talk details soon. I scrolled until my eyes burned. The back door opened and Caleb walked in with 2 coffees and a carrier. He smiled when he saw me. "Thought you could use a pick-me-up. Morning rush hit yet?" I turned the laptop screen toward him. "Dennis wouldn't deliver. He said we're past due." His smile flickered. "That's weird. I'll call them." "I already looked at the account," I said. "Where did the money go?" He set the coffees down slowly. "What are you talking about?" I stood up and faced him. "The transfers, the hotel stays, Sienna." His face went white. He didn't move. He just stood there staring at the laptop screen like it might change if he looked long enough. "Say something," I said. He dragged a hand down his face. "It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like." "I was going to tell you," he said. "I just needed time to figure out how." I laughed, and it came out sharp enough to make him flinch. "You needed time? You've had 6 months. It's complicated." "Then uncomplicate it." He pulled out a chair and sat down heavily. "I met her at the farmer's market in April. We started talking. She's trying to get a food business off the ground and I thought I could help. It wasn't supposed to turn into anything, but it did." He nodded. "I messed up. I know I messed up." "You told her you were single," I said. "You told her you owned this place by yourself. You used money my grandmother left us to take her to dinner and buy her jewelry." "I panicked," he said. "She asked if I was married and I didn't know how to explain that I was, but that things were hard, and I just wanted to feel like someone saw me as more than the guy who couldn't pay off his credit cards." "So you lied." "I made a mistake," he said. "A lot of mistakes. But I can fix this. I'll end it with her. I'll pay back what I took. We can get through this." "How much did you take?" He hesitated. "I don't know the exact number. Guess? Maybe 10,000? Maybe a little more." I sat down because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore. $10,000. "I'll put it back," he said. "I swear. I'll pick up extra shifts. I'll sell my truck. Whatever it takes." "We don't have extra shifts," I said. "We're barely keeping up as it is. And your truck's worth maybe $3,000 if we're lucky." He reached for my hand. I pulled it back. "I need full access to that account," I said. "The one you've been transferring money into. I need to see everything." "It's personal," he said. "It's our business money." "I'll show you the statements," he said. "But I'm not giving you the login. That's mine." I stared at him. "Are you kidding me right now?" "I'm trying to keep some boundaries," he said. "I messed up, but I still deserve privacy. You don't get privacy when you steal from me." "I didn't steal," he said. "I borrowed. There's a difference." I stood up and walked out of the office. He called after me, but I didn't stop. I went home, locked myself in the bedroom, and didn't come out until morning. The next day, 2 more suppliers called. One was the dairy distributor. The other was the company that supplied our packaging. Both said the same thing: pay in full by the end of the week, or they'd suspend our account. I called the dairy distributor back and asked if we could work out a payment plan. The woman on the phone sighed and said they'd tried to reach Caleb 3 times in the last month and he'd ignored every message. "I didn't know," I said. "I handle production. He handles the finances. I'm finding out about this now." "I'm sorry," she said, "but we can't keep extending credit to accounts that don't pay. If you can get us half by Friday, we'll keep delivering through the end of the month. After that, it's cash on delivery until you're current." I agreed and hung up. Then I opened our business account again and stared at the balance. If I paid half to the dairy distributor and half to the packaging company, we'd have just enough left to cover payroll for our 2 part-time employees. Rent was due in 10 days. I had no idea how we'd make that. Caleb came in during the afternoon lull. He tried to kiss my cheek. I stepped back. "I talked to Sienna," he said. "I told her it's over. She didn't take it well, but it's done." "Good for you," I said. "I'm serious about fixing this," he said. "I know you don't believe me, but I am." One of our employees, Becca, walked into the front room carrying a tray of cooling croissants. She glanced between us and set the tray down carefully. Everything okay? She asked. Fine, I said. Just talking through some vendor stuff. She nodded slowly. A couple customers asked why we're out of the honey oat loaves. I told them we'd have more tomorrow. We will, I said, even though I wasn't sure we'd have the flour to make them. She left and Caleb lowered his voice. You can't tell the staff. I wasn't planning to. I mean it, he said. If people find out, it'll hurt the business. You already hurt the business, I said. I'm just trying to keep it alive. The landlord's email came that night. The subject line was lease renewal discussion. Inside, he said he'd noticed we'd been late on rent twice in the last 4 months and wanted to schedule a meeting to talk about adjusting the terms. He didn't say what kind of adjustments, but I could guess. I sat at the Kit Lopez table with my laptop open and tried to figure out how to renegotiate terms with people who didn't trust us anymore. Caleb was in the living room watching television like nothing had happened. I wanted to throw something at him. Instead, I opened a spreadsheet and started listing every vendor, every overdue payment, every lie I'd have to smooth over if we were going to survive the next 2 weeks. I met with the dairy distributor's rep on Monday and handed her a check for half of what we owed. She took it without smiling and said the rest was due in 2 weeks, or we'd be cut off completely. I thanked her and watched her leave, then went back inside and found Caleb standing behind the counter scrolling through his phone. I just paid Janet, I said. That was money we needed for the electric bill. He looked up. I'll cover the electric bill, stop worrying. With what money? I've got it handled, he said. I'm picking up some consulting work on the side. Web design stuff. I'll have the cash by next week. You don't do web design. I'm learning, he said. A buddy of mine is teaching me. It's easy money. I stared at him. We need to separate the accounts. I want the business account under my name only. That's not how LLCs work, he said. We're both listed as owners. You can't just kick me off. Then we'll file paperwork to change it. That takes months, he said. And it costs money we don't have. You really want to spend $1,000 on lawyer fees right now? I didn't answer. Look, he said. I know you're angry. I get it. But if you start making big moves like that, people are going to ask questions. Vendors, customers, the landlord. You want everyone knowing our business is falling apart? It is falling apart. Not if we keep it together, he said. Let me fix this. I can get us back on track. I just need you to trust me. You used that money to lie to another woman. He closed his eyes and breathed out slowly. I made a mistake. I've apologized. I'm ending it. What else do you want from me? I wanted him gone, but I didn't say it. Instead, I walked into the Kit Lopez and started prepping dough for the next morning. That afternoon, Caleb's sister Diane called me. She lived 2 hours away, and we talked maybe once a month, usually about holidays or family dinners. Hey, she said. Caleb mentioned you guys are dealing with some growing pains at the bakery. How bad is it? I stopped kneading and wiped my hands on my apron. What did he tell you? Just that you're stressed about vendor payments and worried about cash flow. He said it's normal startup stuff, but you're taking it pretty hard. I laughed. It came out bitter. That's one way to put it. Is it really that serious? She asked. Because he made it sound like you were kind of overreacting. Diane, did he tell you he's been moving business money into a personal account? There was a pause. No. He said you were frustrated because expenses are higher than you expected. He's been lying to you, I said. And to me. And to a woman he's been seeing for 6 months. Another pause, longer this time. He's seeing someone? He was. Maybe still is. I don't know. He says it's over, but he won't give me access to the account he used to pay for it. Oh my God, she said. I had no idea. He told me things were tight, but you were being hard on him about it. He's been stealing from the business, I said. We're behind on almost every vendor because he's been siphoning money to cover hotel stays and dinners and gifts for her. Diane didn't say anything for a long moment. Then she sighed. What do you need? I don't know yet, I said. But if he calls you again and tries to make me sound crazy, don't believe him. I won't, she said. I'm sorry, I should have asked more questions. We hung up and I went back to the dough, pressing my palms into it harder than I needed to. The next morning, I checked the business account and found another transfer. He'd moved $500 overnight. I called him immediately. Where's the money? I said. What money? You moved $500 last night. I needed it for the consulting gig, he said. I had to buy software and pay for a course. It's an investment. You don't get to make investments with bakery money. It's my business too, he said. I'm allowed to use the funds. Not without telling me. I'm telling you now, he said. It'll pay off. You'll see. I hung up and called the bank. The woman on the phone was polite but firm. If I wanted to remove Caleb from the account, I'd need his signature or a court order. If I wanted to freeze transfers, same thing. As long as we were both listed as owners, we both had equal access. What if I open a new account? I asked. You can open a personal account anytime, she said. But if you want to move business funds into it, that requires authorization from all listed owners. Otherwise, it's considered misappropriation. Even if he's already been misappropriating, you'd need to prove that in court, she said. I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you want to hear. I thanked her and hung up. That afternoon, I met with a lawyer named Greta Lopez. Her office was in a narrow building downtown, up 2 flights of stairs that smelled like old carpet and cleaning solution. She listened while I explained everything, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen. Disentangling him from the LLC is possible, but it's not fast and it's not cheap. You'll need to file articles of amendment with the state, get his signature, or petition the court to proceed without it. And if he contests it, you're looking at months of back and forth. How much does that cost? Depends on how cooperative he is, she said. If he signs willingly, maybe $1,500 in filing fees and legal hours. If he fights it, could be $5,000 or $6,000. I felt my chest tighten. I don't have $5,000. Then your other option is to document everything he's done and build a case for financial misconduct. If you can prove he's been misusing business funds for personal gain, a judge might side with you and force a buyout or dissolution. What do I need to prove it? Bank statements, emails, text messages, receipts, anything that shows a pattern of unauthorized transfers or personal purchases made with business money. The clearer the paper trail, the stronger your case. I have most of that, I said. She nodded. Good. Start organizing it. Get everything in one place. If you decide to move forward, I'll need copies of all of it. What if I can't afford to move forward? She leaned back in her chair. Then you're stuck in a partnership with someone who's actively undermining you, and your only real option is to try to outlast him or sell the business and walk away. I left her office and sat in my car for 10 minutes before I could drive. When I got back to the bakery, Becca was wiping down the counter. She glanced up when I walked in. Someone came by earlier asking about part-time positions, she said. I told them we're not hiring right now. That's still true, right? Right, I said. She nodded and went back to wiping. I've been meaning to ask, is everything okay, like with the business? Why? I don't know, she said. It just feels different lately. Tense. And I heard you on the phone with a vendor last week and it sounded like they were threatening to cut us off. I forced a smile. We're fine. Just normal cash flow stuff. Every business goes through it. She looked at me for a long moment, then she nodded. Okay, good. But her voice didn't sound convinced. That night, the landlord's follow-up email arrived. He wanted to meet Friday morning to discuss lease terms. He mentioned that given recent payment delays, he'd feel more comfortable moving forward with either a cosigner or an increased security deposit equivalent to 3 months' rent. I closed the laptop and pressed my hands against my eyes until I saw spots. Caleb came home late and found me still sitting at the table. He kissed the top of my head like nothing had changed. Rough day? He asked. I didn't answer. I posted a photo of our morning pastries on the bakery's social media page Wednesday and watched the comments roll in slower than usual. Someone asked if we were still open regular hours. Someone else said they'd driven by twice last week and we'd been closed. I replied to both and said we were open every day except Monday, same as always, but the damage was already done. By Thursday afternoon, I'd noticed the shift. Regulars who used to come in 3 times a week were suddenly nowhere. The morning rush that usually had a line out the door barely filled half the tables. When Mrs. Kapoor came in for her usual almond croissant, she leaned across the counter and lowered her voice. Is everything all right, dear? I heard you were having trouble with your suppliers. I smiled and handed her the pastry bag. Just some scheduling mix-ups, nothing to worry about. She patted my hand. If you need anything, you let me know. I thanked her and watched her leave, then turned to find Becca staring at me from the Kit Lopez doorway. People are talking, she said. I know. What are they saying? That we're struggling, that we might close. She crossed her arms. Are we closing? No, I said, we're not closing. She didn't look convinced. That weekend was the neighborhood farmers market, the same one where Caleb had met Sienna. I'd signed us up months ago and paid the vendor fee, and I wasn't about to waste it. I loaded the van with boxes of sourdough and pastries and drove over alone. Caleb said he had to meet with his consulting client. I didn't argue. I was setting up the table when my best friend Nora appeared. She'd helped us launch the bakery 2 years ago, designing our logo and running our first social media campaign for free. She took one look at my face and pulled me aside. What's going on? She asked. You look like you haven't slept in a week, I told her. Not everything, but enough. The transfers, the affair, the suppliers cutting us off. She listened with her jaw tight and her arms crossed. Where is he? She asked when I finished. I don't know. He said he had a meeting. He's lying, she said. He's probably with her. He said he ended it. She laughed. And you believe him? I didn't answer. Caleb showed up an hour later, carrying a coffee and wearing the smile he used with customers. Nora saw him first. She walked straight over and stopped in front of him. We need to talk, she said. He glanced at me, then back at her. About what? About the fact that you've been stealing from your wife's business to fund an affair. People at the neighboring tables turned to look. I felt my face go hot. Nora, I said, not here. Yes, here, she said. Because he's been lying to everyone, and someone needs to call him out. Caleb held up his hands. I don't know what she told you, but it's more complicated than that. It's not complicated, Nora said. You took money that wasn't yours and used it to cheat on her. I made some mistakes, he said, but this is between me and my wife. It's not your business. It became my business when you started dragging her reputation through the mud, Nora said. People are saying she's a bad manager, that she's letting the bakery fall apart. They don't know you're the reason it's falling apart. That's not true, Caleb said. The bakery's fine. We're just going through a rough patch like every business does. She's stressed and she's taking it out on me. I stared at him. Are you kidding me right now? He turned to me. I'm trying to protect the business. If people think we're having problems, they'll stop coming. You're making this worse by talking about it. I'm not the one who made this a problem, I said. A woman from the table next to ours stepped over. I recognized her as the owner of a small catering company. She looked at Caleb. I've heard some things, she said, about late payments and vendors cutting you off. Is that true? No, Caleb said. We had a couple of invoices get delayed because of a bank error, but it's resolved now. That's not what I heard, she said. I heard you've been blacklisted by half your suppliers. That's gossip, Caleb said. People love to spread rumors about small businesses. Don't believe everything you hear. She looked at me. Is it gossip? I opened my mouth and Caleb cut in before I could answer. She's been under a lot of pressure, he said. It's affecting how she sees things. I'm trying to help her keep perspective, but she's not making it easy. Nora stepped between us. He's lying. Don't listen to him. Caleb smiled at the catering woman. See what I mean? Everyone's got an opinion about our marriage. It's exhausting. The woman glanced between us, then stepped back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry. She walked away and Caleb turned to Nora. Thanks for that. Really helpful. Nora looked at me. You're going to let him do this? I didn't know what to say. Caleb picked up a box of pastries and started rearranging them on the table like nothing had happened. Nora shook her head and walked away. I sold maybe half of what I'd brought. People stopped by, glanced at the table, and kept walking. A few asked questions I couldn't answer without sounding defensive. By the time I packed up, I felt like I'd been scraped raw. That night, Caleb's mother called. She didn't bother with small talk. Diane told me what's going on, she said. Is it true? Which part? All of it, she said. The affair, the money, the problems with the business. Yes, I said, it's true. She sighed. I'm not going to pretend Caleb didn't mess up, but you need to think about what you're doing. If you push him out of the business, you're going to lose everything. You can't run that place alone. I've been running it alone for months. He hasn't been helping. He's been trying, she said. You're just not seeing it. Marriage is hard. Business is hard. You knew that going in. But if you start airing your problems in public, you're going to destroy what you've built. He already destroyed it. Don't be dramatic, she said. You're angry. I get it. But you need to forgive him and move forward. For the sake of the business and your future. He stole from me. He made a mistake, she said. People make mistakes. You're not perfect either. I hung up. My own mother called the next day. Diane must have told her too. I'm worried about you, she said. Are you sure you're thinking clearly? What does that mean? It means you're talking about kicking your husband out of a business you built together. What happens if you can't keep it going without him? You'll lose everything. I'm losing everything anyway. Then maybe you should sell, she said. Cut your losses and start over somewhere else. You're young. You can rebuild. I don't want to rebuild, I said. I want to keep what's mine. But is it yours? She asked. Or is it both of yours? Because legally, I think he has just as much claim to it as you do. I didn't answer. I'm just saying, she said. Don't make any big decisions while you're emotional. You might regret it. I told her I had to go and ended the call. Monday morning, I sat down with Becca and our other part-timer, a college student named Jordan. I'd been putting it off, but they deserve to know something. I need to be honest with you, I said. We're having some financial problems. I'm working on fixing them, but it's going to take time. Becca folded her hands on the table. How bad is it? Bad enough that I can't guarantee ours will stay consistent. I'm doing everything I can to keep us afloat, but I need you to know there might be weeks where I have to cut shifts. Jordan shifted in his seat. Are we going to close? Not if I can help it. Becca looked at Jordan, then back at me. I need to give you my notice. My stomach dropped. What? I'm sorry, she said. But I can't afford to lose hours. I've got rent and student loans. I need something stable. I understand, I said, even though I didn't. Jordan cleared his throat. I'm sorry too. I've been looking at other jobs anyway. This just kind of makes the decision easier. They both left 2 weeks later. I spent those weeks training myself to do everything they used to handle, working open to close with no breaks and no backup. Customers noticed. A couple asked where Becca was. I told them she'd moved on to another opportunity and left it at that. Caleb came in during the afternoon lull and found me restocking the pastry case alone. Where's Jordan? He asked. Gone. Both of them? Both of them. He leaned against the counter. You should have talked to me before you told them anything. I could have smoothed it over. I straightened up and looked at him. You're the reason they left. They left because you scared them, he said. You made it sound like we're going under. We are going under. We're not, he said. You're panicking and it's making everything worse. I walked into the back and shut the door. He didn't follow. I was wiping down tables Tuesday afternoon when I heard someone crying outside. At first I thought it was a customer on the phone, but the sound stayed in one place. I set down the rag and walked to the front window. A woman stood on the sidewalk staring at the bakery sign. She was maybe 30, with dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail and mascara streaked down her cheeks. She held her phone in one hand and a folder in the other. I opened the door. Are you okay? She looked up and her face crumpled. Are you his wife? My stomach turned over. Who are you? Sienna, she said. I'm the idiot who believed him. I stepped outside and let the door close behind me. What are you doing here? I needed to see you, she said. I needed to know if you were real. I'm real. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. He told me he was single. He said he owned this place by himself and was looking for a partner to help him expand. He showed me pictures of pastries and said he made them. He talked about opening a second location and maybe investing in my food truck idea if I helped him get it off the ground. I know, I said. I've seen the messages. I didn't know he was married, she said. I swear I didn't know. I wouldn't have gone anywhere near him if I'd known. How did you find out? I drove past here last week and saw you two through the window, she said. You were arguing and he kissed your forehead and I just knew. I looked you up online and found your wedding announcement from 4 years ago. Same guy, same smile, same lies. I crossed my arms. What do you want from me? I don't want anything, she said. I just thought you should see this. She opened the folder and pulled out a stack of printed messages. I recognized Caleb's phone number at the top of each page. She handed them to me and I started reading. He told her the bakery was doing better than ever. He'd said he was setting aside $10,000 to help her buy a used food truck and retrofit it. He'd sent her photos of commercial Kit Lopez equipment and said he was pricing out a commissary space they could share. In one message, he'd promised to write her a check by the end of summer to get her started. Did he give you any money? I asked. She pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to me. It was a photocopy of a check made out to her for $1,500, drawn on our business account. The memo line said, consulting services. The date was 3 weeks ago. I stared at it until the numbers blurred. That was supposed to be the first installment, she said. He told me he'd give me the rest once I found the right truck. I deposited it and started looking. Then I saw you two together and realized he'd been lying about everything. Did you spend it? Some of it, she said. I put a deposit down on a truck I found online, but I can pay it back. I don't want his money. I don't want anything to do with him. Keep it, I said. You're going to need it to undo whatever mess he's pulled you into. She shook her head. I can't. It's not mine. It's not his either. She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. It's not your fault. It feels like it is. She handed me the rest of the folder. Inside were more printed messages, a spreadsheet she'd made tracking the amounts he'd promised her, and copies of 2 more checks he'd written that she'd never cashed because something felt off. One was for $2,000. The other was for $3,500. I thought you should have proof, she said, in case you need it. Thank you. She wiped her eyes again. Is he here? No. Good, she said. I don't think I could look at him. She turned and walked back to her car. I watched her drive away, then went inside and locked the door behind me. I sat down at the counter and spread the papers out in front of me. Every message, every promise, every lie, all of it in his handwriting or his words. I called Greta Lopez. She answered on the second ring. I have documentation, I said. Text messages, copies of checks he wrote from the business account to another woman, a full paper trail. It's everything you said I'd need. Can you bring it to my office? I can be there in 20 minutes. She met me in the lobby and walked me upstairs. I handed her the folder and she sat down at her desk and started reading. When she finished, she looked up. "This is exactly what we need," she said. "He wrote checks to a third party using business funds for personal purposes and documented the intent in writing. That's textbook financial misconduct. What do we do with it?" "We file for emergency financial separation and petition the court to freeze joint access to the business account pending a hearing. With this evidence, a judge will almost certainly grant it. Once the account is frozen, he can't move any more money without a court order." "How long does that take?" "If we filed tomorrow, we could have a temporary order within a week. Maybe sooner if the judge sees this as urgent." "Do it," I said. She nodded and started typing notes on her computer. "You'll need to open a new account in your name only and start funneling business income into it. Technically, that's allowed as long as you're transparent about it and keep records. Once the freeze is in place, you'll petition to have the LLC amended to remove him entirely." "What if he fights it?" "He can try," she said. "But with this documentation, he doesn't have much ground to stand on. A judge isn't going to side with someone who's been stealing from his own business to fund an affair." I felt something loosen in my chest. "What do I do in the meantime?" "Document everything. If he contacts you, save the messages. If he tries to access the account after the freeze, report it immediately. And don't let him back into the bakery or your home without a witness present. He lives with me." "Then you need to tell him to leave," she said. "Today, if possible. If he refuses, we can file for a restraining order based on financial abuse, but it's easier if he goes willingly." I nodded. "Okay." She handed me a business card with a handwritten number on the back. "This is a locksmith I've worked with before. Call him tonight. Get your locks changed before Caleb comes home." I left her office and sat in my car with the folder on my lap. Then I called my grandmother's old friend, Roger Finch. He'd retired from accounting 5 years ago, but still did consulting work for small businesses. I'd met him at her funeral, and he'd told me to reach out if I ever needed help. He answered on the third ring. "This is Roger." "Hi, it's me. I don't know if you remember, but I'm Eleanor's granddaughter. You helped her with her taxes for years." "Of course I remember," he said. "How are you holding up?" "Not great," I said. "I need help. My husband's been stealing from the bakery my grandmother helped me start, and I need someone to audit the books and figure out how bad the damage is." "When can you come by?" "Tomorrow? I'll clear my schedule," he said. "Bring everything you've got. Bank statements, receipts, invoices, tax filings. I'll need to see it all." "Thank you." "Eleanor would have kicked my tail if I didn't help you," he said. "We'll figure this out." I hung up and called the locksmith. He said he could come by at 7. Then I opened my banking app and started the process of opening a new business account. It would take a few days to activate, but once it did, every dollar that came through the bakery would go straight into it. Caleb wouldn't be able to touch it. I drove to the bakery and found Caleb in the back office on his laptop. He looked up when I walked in. "Where have you been?" he asked. "Meeting with the lawyer." His face went tight. "Why?" "Because I'm removing you from the business." He stood up. "You can't do that." "I can and I am. I have documentation of every fraudulent check you wrote, every transfer you made, and every lie you told. The lawyer's filing for emergency separation tomorrow and freezing the business account. After that, I'm amending the LLC to remove your name entirely." "You're insane," he said. "You can't just kick me out of something I built." "You didn't build it," I said. "I built it with my grandmother's money while you were stealing from it." "I'll fight you," he said. "I'll take you to court and I'll win." "No, you won't," I said, "because a judge is going to see exactly what you did and side with me." He grabbed his jacket off the back of the chair. "This is a mistake. You're going to regret this." "I already regret marrying you." He stared at me, then walked out. I heard the front door slam and his truck start in the parking lot. I locked the office door behind me and went home to wait for the locksmith. The meeting was set for Thursday morning at Greta's office. I arrived early with 2 accordion folders full of bank statements, invoices, and printed emails. Roger was already there, sitting at the conference table with his reading glasses on and a laptop open in front of him. He stood when I walked in and shook my hand. "I've been through everything you sent," he said. "It's worse than you thought, but it's fixable." Greta came in a minute later and we sat down. She poured water into 3 glasses and slid one toward me. "Caleb's been notified," she said. "He should be here any minute." I nodded and tried to keep my hands steady. Roger opened a spreadsheet on his laptop and turned it so I could see. "I've tracked every unauthorized transfer going back 8 months. The total is just under $14,000. That doesn't include the checks he wrote to Sienna or the vendor payments he skipped. If you factor those in, the damage is closer to $22,000. My chest felt tight. "Can the bakery survive that?" "If you take control immediately, yes," he said. "You'll need to renegotiate terms with your suppliers and accept reduced income for yourself for the next 6 months. But the core business is profitable. The problem isn't the bakery, it's him." The door opened and Caleb walked in. He looked at me, then at Greta, then at Roger. He pulled out a chair and sat down without saying anything. Greta folded her hands on the table. "Thank you for coming. We're here to discuss the financial separation of the business and the steps required to remove you from the LLC." "I'm not agreeing to any of that," Caleb said. "You don't have to agree," Greta said. "But if you don't, we'll file a formal complaint for fraud and misuse of business funds. The documentation we have is extensive and it includes written proof that you used business money for personal expenses, including payments to a third party for services that were never rendered to the business." Caleb glanced at me. "You're really going to do this?" "Yes." He leaned back in his chair. "Fine, let's hear it." Roger turned his laptop toward Caleb and walked him through the spreadsheet. Every transfer, every skipped payment, every lie laid out in columns and timestamps. Caleb's face went red halfway through. "That money wasn't stolen," he said. "I'm a partner. I have just as much right to it as she does." "Not when you're using it for personal expenses," Greta said. "Business funds can only be used for business purposes, or distributed as agreed upon profit sharing. You didn't distribute. You transferred money into a personal account and used it to fund a relationship outside your marriage. That's fraud." "It's not fraud," Caleb said. "It's poor judgment. There's a difference." "The law doesn't see it that way," Greta said. "And neither will a judge." Roger tapped the screen. "You also wrote 3 checks to Sienna Marsh from the business account. One cleared for $1,500. The other 2 were never cashed, but the intent is documented in your text messages to her. You promised her $10,000 to fund a food truck using business money you had no authority to allocate." Caleb's jaw tightened. She was going to work with me. It was a business investment. Then why didn't you discuss it with your business partner? Roger asked. Caleb didn't answer. Greta pulled a folder from her briefcase and slid it across the table. This is a separation agreement. It removes you from the LLC, transfers full ownership to your wife, and bars you from accessing the business account or entering the bakery premises. In exchange, we won't file a fraud complaint or pursue criminal charges. You can't threaten me with criminal charges, Caleb said. I'm not threatening, Greta said. I'm explaining your options. If you sign, this stays civil. If you don't, it becomes a matter for the district attorney. Caleb stared at the folder. What if I want my share of the business? You don't have a share, I said. You have a title on paper. You didn't put any money into it. I did. My grandmother did. You've been taking money out for months and calling it partnership. I worked there, he said. I helped build it. You stole from it, I said. That's all you did. He looked at Greta. If I sign this, what happens to the money I already moved? You keep it, Greta said. We're not pursuing repayment. We're cutting you loose and moving forward without you. That's it? That's it. He picked up the folder and flipped through the pages. Then he set it down and rubbed his face with both hands. This is going to destroy me, he said. You did that yourself, I said. He looked at me and I saw something in his face I didn't recognize. Not anger, not guilt, just exhaustion. Fine, he said. I'll sign. Greta handed him a pen. He signed 3 copies and slid them back across the table. She countersigned as witness and handed one to Roger, one to me, and kept the third for her files. You'll receive formal notice when the LLC amendment is filed with the state, Greta said. Until then, you're barred from the business account and the physical location. If you violate that, we'll pursue a restraining order. Caleb stood up. He looked at me one more time. I hope it was worth it, he said. It was my grandmother's money, I said. It was always worth it. He left without another word. Roger closed his laptop. I'll help you set up a payment plan with your vendors. Most of them will work with you if you're upfront about what happened and show them you're taking control. Thank you. Eleanor was a good friend, he said. I'm not going to let her legacy disappear because of him. Greta walked me to the door. The emergency order freezing the account should come through by Monday. Once it does, you'll have full control. In the meantime, keep documenting everything. If he contacts you, don't engage. Forward it to me. I nodded and left. I went straight to the bank and met with the branch manager. She pulled up the new account I'd opened and confirmed it was active. I handed her a stack of deposit slips and asked her to redirect all card payments from the bakery to the new account starting immediately. She made a note and said it would take 24 hours to process. Then I drove to the bakery and opened the back door. The Kit Lopez was quiet and clean. I'd scrubbed everything the night before because I couldn't sleep and needed something to do with my hands. I turned on the ovens and started pulling ingredients for the next day's bake. My phone buzzed. It was a text from the dairy distributor. Heard you're making changes. Let me know when you're ready to talk terms. I texted back. Tomorrow morning work? I'll be there at 8. I set the phone down and kept working. The next morning, Janet showed up with her clipboard and a thermos of coffee. She sat down at the counter and I handed her a cinnamon roll. On the house, I said. She took a bite and nodded. Still the best in town. Thanks. So, she said, what's the plan? I laid out the payment schedule Roger and I had worked out. Half of what we owed by the end of the month, the rest spread over 3 months. After that, we'd go back to normal terms. She looked at the numbers and tapped her pen against the clipboard. What happens if you can't make a payment? I'll make it, I said. I'm cutting my own salary and picking up the shifts I used to pay other people to cover. I'll make it. She studied me for a moment. Then she held out her hand. Deal. We shook and she stood up. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're staying open. This neighborhood needs you. I'm not going anywhere. She left and I spent the rest of the morning calling the other suppliers. 2 of them agreed to similar terms. One said they'd think about it. The packaging company said they'd only work with us on a cash-on-delivery basis going forward. I agreed and marked it in my notes. By the end of the week, I'd renegotiated terms with everyone except the landlord. He called me Friday afternoon and asked if I was free to meet. I drove over to his office and found him sitting behind a desk covered in lease agreements and property photos. I heard your husband's no longer involved with the business, he said. That's right. Good, he said. I didn't want to say anything before, but I never trusted him. He always had an excuse ready when rent was late. I'm taking over payments personally, I said. No more excuses. He nodded. I'm not going to raise your rent, but I need first and last month upfront as a new security deposit. Can you do that? I thought about the numbers Roger had shown me. If I used the emergency loan Greta had helped me secure, I could cover it. Barely. I can do that, I said. Then we're good, he said. Get me a check by the end of the month and we'll call it even. I left his office and sat in my car with my hands on the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Nora. Heard the news. Proud of you. Let me know if you need anything. I texted back a thank you and drove to the bakery. The next 2 weeks were the hardest I'd ever worked. I opened at 5 in the morning and closed at 7 at night. I baked, served customers, cleaned, prepped, and handled vendor calls in between. My back ached and my hands were covered in burns from pulling trays out of the oven too fast. Customers asked where Caleb was. I told them he'd moved on to other projects and left it at that. Mrs. Kapoor came in one afternoon and ordered her usual almond croissant. She leaned across the counter and lowered her voice. I heard what happened, she said. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Thank you. But I'm glad you're still here, she said. This place means something. Don't let anyone take that from you. I wrapped her pastry and handed it to her. She squeezed my hand before she left. By the 3rd week, I'd hired 2 new part-timers. One was a culinary student who needed experience. The other was a retired baker who said she was bored at home and missed the smell of fresh bread. They were reliable and fast, and I paid them every cent I could afford. Roger stopped by one morning with a folder full of updated financials. He spread them across the counter and walked me through the numbers. You're breaking even, he said. Another 2 months and you'll be profitable again. What about the debt? You'll have it cleared by spring if you stick to the plan, he said. After that, you can start rebuilding your savings. I don't know how to thank you. You already did, he said. You kept this place alive. That's all Eleanor would have wanted. I nodded and he left. That afternoon, I updated the bakery's social media page with a new post. A photo of sourdough cooling on the rack and a caption that said, under new management, same recipes, same heart. The comments started coming in within minutes. People I'd never met said they'd stop by. Regulars said they were glad I was still open. Someone asked if I was hiring. I replied and said maybe next month. I closed the laptop and looked around the Kit Lopez. The ovens hummed. The dough rested under damp towels. The air smelled like butter and yeast and something I couldn't name but recognized as mine. I wiped down the counters and locked the door behind me. The sun was setting and the neighborhood was quiet. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment and looked at the sign above the door. Morning Rise Bakery. My grandmother's money, my work, my name. I got in my car and drove home.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.